It's Coach Jeevers, and I am so excited to be with you for this special announcement. I hope you guys, I know you've been all excited about today, about some of the new announcements that we've been putting together on Monday and Tuesday and Wednesday and such. And so now I am ready to give you something that I think really shows you some of the amazing things that Youngevity is doing and has been doing. And you're going to see a lot more of this at the Dallas convention as well too. But so here's the thing. We've got a new personality, a new celebrity, a new credibility person at Youngevity. We've got a new product in an incredibly new and powerful product area. And I cannot wait to share with you today about this. And so here, let me give you just a little bit briefing. Though this is how it all started. So a couple weeks ago, or actually months ago, sorry, Steve, you know how he loves to do his research and is always looking at new ingredients and things like that. He was over at a conference, and they were talking about the #1 kind of issue that our country faces, actually our world faces. And so he comes back from this conference, he's like, Jeevers, listen, man, I want to do something about this. I want to create a new mission, if you will, a new sense of purpose for a couple of the products that we have right now. And I'd like to kind of have you look at some ingredients. And he had some really kind of key ones that he was kind of learning about and understanding and such. And so obviously I'm super jazzed about this. I'm like, wow, what a great way to really extend the mission of what Youngevity is all about. So he tells me all about this. And he's like, see if you can do some more research, figure out who you want to be a part of this and all that sort of stuff. Well, I'm back in Arizona, and the light bulb goes off, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I have got the perfect person. Because this individual I've known for about 2 years. He's an incredibly accomplished individual in 2 areas that I am very passionate about, which is nutrition, obviously, and wellness, and then also with just being active and athletic and all that sort of stuff. And so everybody kind of knows this person in Arizona. And so I said to myself, oh my gosh, I got to get a hold of him. So I give him a ring, and I'm like, sir, I really would love to have your help with this. I want to tell you a little bit about what I'm doing and how I'm doing it, who I'm doing it with it. And instantly he knew all of these parts. And he's been very passionate in this kind of mission as well too. And so I said, all right, come together. So Steve, myself, this individual, we all came together. We said, okay, let's build an incredible product that really targets this #1 killer, if you will, in the US, in the world. So how can we do this? So we put together this formulation team, and I'd like to introduce to you a brand new member of our Scientific Medical Advisory Board, our formulation team, Dr. Dwight Lundell. Yay! Woo! I know you're all clapping out there. Dr. Lundell, honor to have you here. So Dr. Lundell, many of you that are into wellness, into health, you know of Dr. Lundell because he's had a couple different articles that have gone viral. He's had an amazing book, one of a best-selling book here, The Cure of Heart Disease. He's got a couple e-booklets. But here's the thing. So this is why I'm like so humbled to be here, okay, right? So honored to be here. So Dr. Lundell, for over a quarter of a century, a cardiovascular surgeon, cardiothoracic surgeon. You're chief of surgery or chief of staff at Banner Health at Yale University. You started founding member of Banner Heart Institute, yes, right? And also a Beating Heart Hall of Fame. I was actually researching this a couple days ago, and I was looking at who else was honored in the Hall of Fame of Beating Hearts, and there was an individual just last year, and he's in Maryland, and he was honored for all of his work in off-the-pump surgery, this heart off the pump, which is what you pioneered, right? Is that right? Right? And so just an incredibly accomplished kind of surgeon, academic, but also you'll hear a little bit more about this. You're looking at a Dr. Gold, check this out, 10-time Ironman, 5-time #1 place finisher, two-time world champion. Like, this guy is amazing. And so we are so honored to have you, Dr. Lundell, here. We're honored to have you part of this new mission, new product, the new Scientific and Medical Advisory Board. So here's the thing, Doc, right? Is that when I called you and I said, hey, I got this thing, I want to do it with an organization called Youngevity, you had kind of already known of Youngevity, right?
I did. I knew of you, and we had similar ideas and some other formulations that we talked about in the past. But yes, I knew about Youngevity. I knew about Dr. Wallach, and I knew about the work he's done and how critically important it is, because really what we are is like billions of electrochemical reactions going on all the time. And minerals are the catalyst for almost all of these reactions. And his bringing awareness to the world about the importance of the minerals that we're not getting in our food because of commercial farming. So I thought that was very critical. And then I came to admire how he fought through adversity in order to achieve his goals. And so I'm honored to be here. I'm not sure that I can live up to this introduction, but I'm happy to be here. And I'm humbled to be here.
Well, I'll tell you what, you know, Dr. Lundell has an incredible story of a struggle as well, too, and triumph, you know, and we're going to hear a lot about that later on as well, too. By the way, we're going to make this a 60-minute kind of Facebook thing, but the first 30 minutes is just going to focus on the new product that we have, and then the next 30 minutes I'm going to do a little Q&A, and so don't worry if you don't get a lot of the information that you want about some of the health benefits about the product or just in general, because trust me, Dr. Lundell is going to be with us for a very long time, and we're going to do a lot of training and a lot of talking. But here is the thing. This is the reason why, another reason why I kind of searched out Dr. Lundell, is because just like Dr. Wallach believes that symptoms are a mere kind of secondary element to the root cause of all different types of health diseases, this is what Dr. Lundell's research and work, publications are also in as well too. And this is why Dr. Lundell, you are so well known, is that doing over 5,000, guys, 5,000 heart surgeries, 5,000 cardiovascular heart surgeries. Looking at all those surgeries, there was one day, one patient, I guess maybe I'm making this more dramatic than it is, okay, right? One day, one friend, is that you realized, oh my gosh, wait a second, I'm not really sure if what I have been learning or what I've been taught or what I've been reading is necessarily the primary cause of all of these health issues. Is that right?
Well, 35 years ago we were promised, when we learned about cholesterol and treating cholesterol, we were promised by all the experts that cardiovascular disease would be gone by the turn of the century.
Right.
Well, guess what? It's not gone. It remains the biggest killer in the world, and especially in industrialized countries. So we haven't solved cardiovascular disease because we haven't looked down at the fundamental cause. No problem can be solved unless we know what the problem is. And we got fixated on cholesterol and we stopped looking. I had a professor, one of my favorite professors, said the worst thing that can happen to a patient is a diagnosis. I was puzzled. I thought that's what we're here for, to make a diagnosis. He said, no. When you make a diagnosis and put a label on it, then everyone stops thinking about it.
All right.
And that's what happens in heart disease. We decided it was cholesterol, and then for a long time, nobody thought about it at all. And it became religious dogma almost to treat cholesterols to lower and lower and lower levels.
Right, right. You were saying in your book where you said, listen, you know, I couldn't really find any direct correlation between people that were a certain weight, people with certain cholesterol levels, genetics. You talked about how people's lifestyles were different. There wasn't any really clustering of direct correlation outside of the one thing, which was...
Well, the one thing that's common in every one of the patients with heart disease or vascular disease anywhere is inflammation. That's not the cause, that's the mechanism.
Right.
And it's been well worked out. All the steps are known, starting with attracting white cells to the inside the blood vessel wall, and injury to that critical inner layer of our blood vessels. All 60,000 miles of our blood vessels are lined with a single cell layer called the endothelium.
Right.
And the endothelium is really the brains of the whole circulatory system. The heart, in spite of all the things we attach to it, is just a dumb pump. It pumps out whatever comes to it the best it can. the blood vessels contract and dilate, let things pass through, don't let things pass through. Stop and think.
Right.
Everything we take in has got to cross through the blood vessel to get to our cells.
Right.
Everything the cells make or produce or byproducts have got to get back out in order to be eliminated. So this is the most critical cell in our body, really.
Yeah, you talked about the fact that, everything that you eat, the 60,000 gallons, right?
60,000 miles of blood vessels.
60,000 miles of blood vessels, all of the tens of thousands of gallons of air that you actually breathe in, all that's got to go through the blood. And that blood is going to have this shrapnel that's attached to it, and it's going to make these nicks and cuts. And it's interesting because this is what Dr. Wallach always talks about, is that he's created a brain and heart pack. He has several other products that are kind of these vascular systems that help to not only clean out some of that, but more importantly, like you mentioned, how do you heal that endothelium wall? How do you heal that blood vessel, right? And so here was the thing, is that right at the time that Steve had come back from this conference, my mom had a cardiovascular issue, and also, I don't know if many of you know this, but also Michelle's father, Steve's father-in-law, had a cardiovascular issue, a stroke, and we kind of bonded, if you will, during that time, and that's when we decided, and I actually called you around that time when my mom was in the hospital, and I said, hey, listen, what can we really do, right? And you kind of told me a little bit about where she was. It was a little bit tough, right? But that kind of, sometimes we also all need a little personal story, if you will, and something that affects us very powerfully. Well, this affected me very powerfully. It affected, obviously, Steve and Michelle very powerfully. And we decided, listen, we can do more. We can develop some more things with some of the most latest research in products and ingredients to really help a lot of people. And so one of the ingredients that Steve had kind of researched and looked at was beets, okay, right? And hopefully many of you do eat beets at home, but beets is a staple, kind of, you see some of the salad mixtures that I make, if you will, and beets is always in there, but we kind of looked at how could we build a product, formulate a product with whole food nutrition, plant-based nutrition, because a lot of these a lot of this nutrition had specific nutrients that could help the endothelial wall, right?
Right. So what we needed to do was find a way to try to make this endothelium healthy. So if it's injured, it doesn't produce the key signaling molecule that tells it to dilate or contract and to let things through or not let things through. And when the endothelium gets injured, it's most commonly the mechanism is oxidative stress,
right?
Because it gets overloaded, makes too many reactive oxygen species or free radicals, if you will. And so what we've done is try to address all that by providing the beets, which has inorganic nitrates, which then turns into nitric oxide, the key signaling molecule for the brains of our cardiovascular system.
Can you talk a little bit about nitric oxide? A lot of individuals kind of hear about that. I know in the performance end, you'll notice a lot of nitric oxide products are kind of pre-workout products, right? Nitric oxide products are also for sexual enhancement type of products, okay, right? Blood flow products, okay? And the reason for that is because they help with blood flow, right?
Yes, they do. Yes, they do. Once again, it's the key signaling molecule that's produced by the endothelial cells to tell the rest of the system what to do. And so if the cell is sick or injured, it can't make that nitric oxide. If it doesn't have enough substrates, I mean, you can't do a chemical reaction without the ingredients.
Right.
And you can't have proper signaling unless you have enough of the substrate. And that substrate for producing nitric oxide is the inorganic nitrates in beets, for example, or spinach or other places. But the most potent source is beets.
Yeah. So what we wanted to do, guys, is we said, okay, listen, we understand what the real root of the problem is, okay, right? Now that we understand what the real root of the problem is, what are those things that allow that issue to be resolved. And so really just simply what we found, obviously like Dr. Lundell said, is that vascular health is dependent on the health of this endothelium, this wall that surrounds these blood vessels. We understand at the very end of the day that there's no way to be able to reduce the trauma, to significantly reduce the trauma that goes through those walls. We're going to keep breathing things in. We're going to keep eating foods. It's just not we can't avoid it, if you will, okay, right? We don't live in a bubble and not all of our food is super clean. So knowing that there's going to be that shrapnel and knowing that there's going to be those nicks and cuts, what do we need to do to create a more resilient kind of vascular system? Well, doing the research, as Dr. Lundell's done for 30, 40 years, realizes nitric oxide is one of those really kind of key elements, okay? So now we want to develop a formula that provides for the support of that, right? And we want to do it in a certain way. And how we wanted to do it was do it with plant-based, kind of organic, natural nutrients, if you will, okay, right? So when Steve kind of commissioned us, if you will, to figure out what ingredients that we wanted to put together, some of the things that we looked at was, number one, we wanted very, very clean ingredients. So the organic, kind of non-GMO type of ingredients. We wanted to look for ingredients that had a lot of research. And so there's a lot of companies who are taking these ingredients, doing a lot of clinical research with them, and then providing great data. And then the third thing is we wanted to make sure that the ingredients would be very complementary to 90 for Life. And I think that's one of the main things that we always look for in our products. Is we understand that the foundation of our health is making sure that we get Dr. Wallach's 90 essential nutrients. The vitamins, minerals, amino acids, essential fatty acids. But what can we do to complement those nutrients? And one of the things that we can do is to enhance it with phytonutrients, plant-based nutrients. And so as we started kind of going through all of this, we said, okay, let's settle on a formula. And so what I want to do with you guys right now is I want to show you one of the tools that we put together for you guys to understand a little bit more about this product. And one of the tools that we put together is www.cardiobeats.com. And so we have built this site, and this site focuses entirely on CardioBeats. It gives you a little information about cardiovascular health. It talks to you about some of the mechanisms of action that Dr. Lundell's been talking about. It gives some different types of features of the products. There's recipes. I'll kind of get into that in a second. But let me show you another piece that we developed, which is an awesome educational kind of sales kind of PDF that you can hand out, you can learn, you can train from, but this is that PDF. So here's the thing. So Dr. Lundell, let's kind of focus on the three main benefits of this product. Is going to be cardiovascular support, okay, right? That's number one. Number two, with being a triathlete, it's the
endurance and it's the recovery from a very hard event. Both are very, very important.
Yeah, you know, one of the things that always gets missed, that people always ask me, you know, what is the number one thing that I can do to get more out of my body? I always say, recover faster.
Yes.
Okay, right? And that's the conversation of sleep. That's the conversation of solid nutrition. That's the conversation of proper rest, not overtraining. I mean, at the very end of the day, right, it's all about recovery.
Yes, it is. I mean, if you're in shape, you're less injured than if you're not in shape. Number one, duh.
Yep.
But the ingredients, particularly in the cherries, something about the ingredient, the anthocyanins, the phytonutrients in tart cherry, been documented in multiple clinical research to reduce muscle soreness after vigorous exercise. And so that was a key ingredient to me. The other thing is, you know, the antioxidants in the, am I going too fast, in the mango powder. Critically important, once again, to maintain the health, because if we don't get active, we do stress things, no question about it. And so we need to provide those substrates.
So the cool thing here is, sorry guys, you mind moving it over here? No, sorry. Okay, so just like Dr. Lundell said, so here's the thing, guys. So the formula's foundation is using organic beets. And this isn't just any beets, because you'll see other beets formulas on the market,
yes.
okay, right? I think you'll notice with the taste of this product compared to the other ones, the true quality that we have put together. But the key thing about our beets, it's a standardized amount of nitrates in our beets, natural nitrates. So while other beet products kind of are diluting their beet with maybe 5% or 7%, we've got a standardized 20% of our beet powder is standardized in nitrates. That's more than anybody that's on the market. That's number one. That's the foundation core of the formula. The supporting cast members are, Dr. Lundell mentioned one of them, cherry. And so cherry powder, cherry is one of the most kind of well-researched recently, right? Fruits or natural ingredients for endurance and oxygen absorption. It's so big, by the way, that the University of Wisconsin has kind of developed their own little Gatorade, and it's based off of cherries. And so we have we have our own cherry powder here, and then what Dr. Lundell mentioned is that we have a special trademark mango. And our mango actually comes from Germany. It's a special mango species that grows between India and Myanmar, and it is it grows there. It comes from Germany. It is a trademarked, clinically supported mango that focuses on enhancing the enzyme that produces nitric oxide. So one of the things with nitric oxide is nitric oxide needs an enzyme nitrates need an enzyme to create nitric oxide. What this specialized mango extract does is it actually produces the enzyme, enhances the enzyme, so you get more nitric oxide out of the nitrates. And so that's kind of the key bits of the formula. And then we've also added L-arginine and L-citrulline. You'll see a lot of those two ingredients in a lot of the other Youngevity products, but we wanted to do that because L-arginine is a precursor to nitric oxide. And so you will see a lot of formulas use just L-arginine. We wanted to complement it with our natural ingredients. Another cool thing, guys, is that high amounts of potassium.
Yep, gotta have that.
Right? And so a lot of products, by the way, endurance, blood flow, more sports performance products, right? They often focus on sodium rather than potassium, but you know potassium is more important than sodium, right?
Well, they're both important, but for endurance you need both, but potassium is very critical. And
it's why coconut water,
yeah.
Right? The reason why people think coconut water is so great is that it has higher levels of potassium than sodium, just because most people's diets are high in sodium. And so when all of a sudden you add more sodium, it throws off the balance.
Right. So during an Ironman event, we will take capsules that have sodium, and we look for lots of potassium in those.
Yeah, yeah.
Magnesium and potassium particularly, but potassium.
Yep. So you've got an awesome formula that is whole food based, that is complemented with specific nutrients that enhance the benefit of what we're trying to do with those plant-based ingredients in a low sugar, low calorie, high potassium, high electrolyte environment. We only use natural flavors using stevia, so it's low in sugar, and it tastes really, really good. It actually, Doc's got some here. We have, this is what it looks like. And so it's got a great taste. You want it? All right. I know you've already had a bunch. And then this is actually from one of our recipes. This is the energy berry formula. Here's to you, Doc. All right.
To your help.
Oh man, that is really good. Anyways, okay, so watch this. Wow, I have so much blood flow. It's crazy. Okay, so here's the deal. Oh, and by the way, here's another thing, guys, is that what we did is we always must stay with the philosophy that is the core of Youngevity. And the core of Youngevity is what? Plant-derived minerals. So what we did is we enhanced this entire formula with plant-derived minerals. Because here's the thing, we all have understood that sure, having organic, having non-GMO, having all that sort of stuff is fantastic for our plants. But that does, as Dr. Wallach has taught us, that doesn't necessarily mean that we have a nutrient-dense fruit or vegetable or whatever. So you better make sure that if you're consuming those things, that you are adding back the element that is usually taken from the soil, which is minerals. So what did we do with this? We made sure that we have an enhanced trace and ultra trace mineral blend in this product. So that's what's really, really cool. I think it's a fantastic formula. It's different than anybody else that's on the market, and because of its differences, it's got a huge, huge benefit. So, anyways, guys, that is the formula, and this is what it looks like. But by the way, when you guys get it, okay, right, you're gonna have to really bang it a little bit. We didn't use any fillers or incipients or anything like that, but once you get it, it's kind of packed kind of tight, so you want to bang it a little bit, and then it'll turn into like a nice little powder or whatever.
Right.
So
this is not necessarily why we named it Cardio Beats, but yeah, we need to get it out.
But you need to beat it a little bit, okay, right? And then it's all good, okay, right? And so let me jump to the website real quick because I'm already like 5 minutes over, I guess, okay, right? So I want to get to the dealio. So we built this site, and the website has all of the information that you need to understand the product, understand the benefits, all that. It talks about nitrates, it talks about the value of nitrates, it talks about the 3 key benefits, and you can purchase it here. And how can you purchase it? Is that when you click on here, you'll notice that you will go straight to the Buy YGY site, and for $39.50, so $39.50, 30 servings, the BV is 30, the QV is 39, you'll be able to get this. And it is on right now. So we just loaded it. It's ready to go. And by the way, I know you guys are like, I know what you said last time with that Fit Shake and that Super Green. Well, this time I did not talk about this unless there were thousands and thousands of units in the warehouse. So right now there are thousands of units in the warehouse, and they are ready to go. Okay, right? And so the Cardio Beats is up. And so here's a couple things, okay, right? Is that we also have an awesome, awesome promotion, okay, right? So as many of you know, that in July we introduced three CEO Mega Packs that were on promotion, okay, right? Well, what Dave Brisky and Alex Tice did just like 10 minutes before I jumped on here is they did something super special for you. So that starting right now, all 3 of those CEO Mega Packs have been reconfigured to include the Cardio Beats, okay? So it includes the Cardio Beats now. It's reconfigured to include the Cardio Beats. And that promotion, it runs out at midnight tomorrow, I believe, okay? Midnight tomorrow. And so, but what they've done is they've extended the promotion, but we made a little change here, is that after midnight tomorrow, the only thing that changes is the QV goes from $750 to $500. So the price stays the same. So it's still $399 CEO Mega Pack, and yeah, the $399 CEO Mega Pack. The commissions are the same on it, okay, right? The only difference is that midnight tomorrow it switches from going from 750 QV to 500 QV. But still, all of the CO Mega Packs will be reconfigured to have the Cardio Beats. I love this. Dr. Lundell loves this, okay, right? And the reason why is because we want to get as many people using the product, understanding the product, appreciating the product. Unfortunately, the reason why they call cardiovascular health kind of the silent killer, if you will, is you don't know when you nick a blood, right? You know when you get a migraine, you don't necessarily know how many nicks and cuts that you have in your blood vessels and your vascular walls. And so you need to do something consistently every day to bring greater health to your vascular system. So, I want to make sure that I cover it all. You guys have an incredible, let's go back real quick to the website. So you've got an incredible tool to talk about the Cardio Beats. You've got a great website that focuses on the benefits, it focuses on the features of the product, it's got these cool recipes, but the thing that I'm most excited about is it has these resources, and these resources have downloadable images. So you can use these tiles, these Facebook tiles, to promote Cardio Beats to your friends, family, whoever. You've got a cover, a Facebook cover banner that you can use to showcase. You've got a PDF. You've got even email scripts to be able to send an email to your friends and family and say, listen, there's a new product. It's Cardio Beats. It focuses on cardiovascular health, blah, 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 and all that sort of stuff. And then something that I'm super jazzed about is you have what Jeevers listens to while he works out. So we have a Spotify music playlist. And this is the exact music playlist that I listen to. And you know how like meticulous and kind of crazy I am. So I have a certain amount of songs that are for warm up. And then I have a certain amount of songs that's for the workout. And then I have a certain amount of songs that are for the cool down and the stretch. And so basically what I've done is I've created, I think it's like 75 minutes of an entire workout with specific songs that I like to listen to. And so you'll know the songs that I really like. And so that is what's on there. And so we've got you the tools, you have the information. We have Dr. Lundell and I that is going to be doing more Facebook Lives, more conference calls. So the next one that we're going to do is on Monday. I'm going to do a Facebook Live and I'm going to talk more about the products and more about the ingredients, comparing it with some other products and such. Dr. Lundell and I will be on a conference call, so the Healthy Body Challenge call on Wednesday will feature Dr. Lundell, and we'll talk about cardiovascular health and things like that. Okay, right? And so, so you've got that. Invite your friends, invite your family, all that sort of stuff. But the product is ready to go right now. $39.50, 30 servings. You're going to love this product. If you have any type of issues with blood flow, any type of issues with a shortness of breath, any type of issues with recovery, all of that sort of stuff, it is rooted in vascular health, you know, right? And so this product is just absolutely perfect for you. So that kind of concludes, and don't forget about the promotion, right? Promotion. So the 3 CEO Mega Packs are now reconfigured to have the cardio beats. That promotion is going to go all the way till midnight, staying the same all the way till midnight tomorrow. The only change after midnight tomorrow is that now the QV goes from $750 to $500, but the products still, or the CO Mega Packs still have the cardio beats, and now you have a really cool way to introduce it to new people, okay, right? So anyways, we're kind of done with that. Hope you guys are jazzed about that. I would love to, how much more time do I have? Okay, I've got about 28 more minutes. Oh, cool. Hey, I'm right on time, actually. All right, so last 30 minutes for those of you that want to stay. I would just kind of like to have a conversation with Dr. Lundell. So Dr. Lundell, here's the thing, okay, right? And so when we were talking kind of 2 years ago, and actually the biggest reason why I was talking to you is I had met a doctor in Denver, Colorado, Dr. Jeffrey Boone, that had that has the Boone Heart Institute, you know, right? And his kind of new way of looking at cardiovascular health was taking kind of these x-rays of the endothelial walls and looking for kind of plaque buildup between these walls, okay, right? And so, like I said, when you kind of looked at how medicine was kind of taking you towards in looking at really the root cause of cardiovascular disease, how did that become kind of like a realization, like, wait a second, I'm not sure if that's really the primary thing, you know?
Well, it's interesting. For a long time, I really didn't care what caused it. I mean, to a man with a hammer, everything looks like a nail.
Right.
So I had a solution, coronary bypass, to a life-threatening problem.
Right.
And I wanted to advance that field, and we did advance that field with beating heart surgery. Beating heart surgery means we don't use the heart-lung machine.
Now, is that the off-the-pump surgery?
That's off the pump, same thing,
Okay.
Off pump or beating heart surgery. So we do the bypasses without using the heart-lung machine. The heart-lung machine causes a stroke in about 2 to 3 to 4% of every patient that we did. Now, how devastating is that to have their heart well and then have them paralyzed or whatever? So my partner and I did over 1,000 consecutive off-pump surgeries with 0 strokes. So we probably prevented, you know, 100, 250 strokes out of those.
Right, right, right.
At any rate, so that was very gratifying. We taught surgeons from all over the country. But anyway, I was solving problems. I was advancing my field. I was hitting that nail, right?
Right, right.
But I kept seeing patients come back 5 years later, needing another operation. They plugged up again.
Okay.
And their cholesterol was normal during the first operation. Their cholesterol was normal during the second operation. things wrong with this. And in fact, in a big study published in the Heart Journal about 3 years ago, of 133,000 patients admitted to hospitals across the country, 70% of all those heart attack patients had normal levels of cholesterol.
Ah.
So, you know, if a theory is wrong 70% of the time, it's not much of a theory. So it was longer ago than that I started thinking about this, because I looked at the cholesterol data and I looked at the statin data, and although the commercial said 39% reduction in risk, well, that was relative risk.
Okay.
And that's a statistical manipulation, and relative risk is just another way to lie.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
It's a statistical alchemy, if you will, to try to make it better than it really was. Because a statin will extend your life maybe a week.
Okay.
And the difference between mortality and heart attacks between the statin group and the non-statin group is about 1%.
Okay.
The number needed to treat, that is, if I treat 100 patients with a coronary bypass, 99.5% of them are going to get well. If I treat 100 patients with statin, maybe one gets a benefit.
Oh.
That's the number needed to treat. So
wow.
It's wrong. So I'm looking in my mind for what else is going on. And if you go way back in history, when we first had a microscope and we looked at plaques, there were white blood cells in there. White blood cells are a response to injury. That's part of the inflammatory mechanism. So it finally dawned on me, I'm looking down at a coronary artery and it's red and it's swollen. That's 2 of the 4 cardinal signs of inflammation.
Right.
Well, I'm going, something else is going on. Now, the interesting thing is lots of other researchers sort of had that thought and it worked out the mechanisms, as I had mentioned before. All the cellular and chemical signaling things that goes on for this normal endothelium to start building up white cells full of oxidized and glycated cholesterol.
Right.
So all of those mechanisms were fairly worked out, and they all had to do with repeated inflammatory episodes. Now, inflammation only occurs if we have injury.
Right.
So, at the end of these big long articles by the most prestigious researchers in the United States, did they ask, what's causing this inflammation? No. They said, what drug can we develop to treat the inflammation?
Yeah, to reduce the inflammation.
Right.
Because if we reduce the inflammation, we can. Yeah.
We need another billion-dollar blockbuster drug like the statin drugs.
Right.
And to me, once again, like Dr. Wallach, let's get down to the fundamentals. What is injuring that blood vessel and starting this cascade that ends up with a stroke or a heart attack?
Right, right. And here's the thing is that, you know, that's where kind of all this anti-inflammatory kind of craze began. And I love that when we were talking about anti-inflammation, you said, whoa, wait a second. Be careful about anti-inflammation, because anti-inflammation can also mean anti-healing, right? Because inflammation is the mechanism of action that your immune system uses to heal you, you know? And so I think what we've become is the society that's consumed all these kind of anti-inflammatories, and we haven't created what you talk about is the resolution. Where's the resolution of the healing? Where's the resolution of the inflammation, right?
Yeah, if you have a scar on your arm and keep injuring it over and over again, it's never going to get well.
Right.
And so that's akin to taking an anti-inflammatory medication to stop the inflammatory process. It's never going to get well. And what happens to us with our blood vessels, as you mentioned, there's a certain level of injury to those blood vessels that we can't avoid. We have to breathe air, and we breathe about 20 to 30,000 gallons a day. And there's a certain level in our environment that we can't get away from with chemicals and toxins of all kinds. Over and above that, one of the biggest areas of injuries come from too much carbohydrates in our diet. And so if you follow the diet that you've given everyone out here,
right,
then you're going to reduce the injury to those blood vessels a lot.
Which is interesting because Dr. Lundell is also a big proponent of ketogenic and the keto lifestyle. And you're actually speaking at 2 conferences. One will be actually at the beginning of this next
beginning
month.
of August in San Diego here, Low Carb USA.
Low Carb USA. And then KetoCon.
And then KetoCon, which is a conference which focuses on the benefits of ketosis. And ketosis just means that all the doctors get all wound up about ketosis. Since ketoacidosis, diabetic ketoacidosis, you're going to die.
Right.
Well, almost every one of us, unless we ate up until midnight, unless we had pie at midnight,
Right.
we all make ketones by burning fat during that time that we didn't eat,
Right.
from 8 o'clock at night until 7 o'clock in the morning. We all have a low level of ketones, but we have so much sugar in our diet that many people have difficulty making them anymore because that enzyme pathway gets suppressed by the overload of sugar that we have in our diet. And so that's what...
So some people even have issues with creating the ketone because of the fact that this sugar and glycation and stuff is actually breaking down the mechanism to create that.
Yes, they suppress the enzymes and never get used. It's like a muscle. If you don't use it,
Right.
it's going to go away.
Right.
And so if we don't use the enzymes to produce ketones, then our ability to do so is greatly diminished. And they're really very, very important. And over and above that, we're so oversugared that I agreed to speak. And we were talking about sex a while ago. And so the conference, and I said, what are you going to talk about? And I said, ED. And so he said, oh, like Viagra and stuff? And I said, no, not that ED. We're going to talk about endothelial dysfunction and what causes it. And anyway, so that's sort of my little fun way of introducing the topic of what we've been talking about, and that's endothelial health. And you know, that's what it's all about. If we had healthy endothelium to our lives, no one would have coronary disease. No one would have a stroke. No one would have a heart attack.
So Dr. Lundell, you're doing these surgeries. Obviously, you come to this realization, and you kind of, don't necessarily initially start speaking against some of the things that were going on, but you were kind of advocating other things that an individual could do to create a better, healthier lifestyle, to not necessarily be in that return situation. But it sounds like you had a very Dr. Wallach-esque, if you will, a result or effect on your medical community, because just as Dr. Wallach, they tried to hurt his name and try to hurt his work and take away some of the incredible pioneering recognition that he should have had. They did that with you as well, too.
They did. I began to agitate the hospital. We can do better. We don't need to wait till the patient's on death's door to do an operation or a stent. We should start attacking this way upstream with something like CardioBeats, which we didn't have then, but we should attack it upstream. Well, they were making such incredible amounts of revenue treating coronary disease with stents and surgery and follow-up on medicine that they didn't want to hear anything about this. And I beat my head against the wall, and finally I said, well, I can't change you people. I'm going to do something else. And I closed my surgical practice. I opened a clinic to teach people proper nutrition.
Very Dr. Wallach, right? That's what he did, yeah.
It was absolutely amazing how quickly we could take people off insulin, take people off blood pressure medicines, take them off their statins, and have them be healthier and save a whole lot of money. So this really was the boom. We got to do something different. Then I began to look to try to get influence beyond just one patient at a time.
Right.
So that's when we wrote the book. We had an article that was picked up by a website in Great Britain. Rush Limbaugh actually devoted more than a half hour on one of his radio shows to this. I've been on Fox News twice on the morning thing to talk about heart disease and whatnot. And so they tried to injure me. They tried to shut me up.
Like shut you up, just like, so. And that's why when I was talking to Steve about this, and it's really great to have someone like Steve who understands the struggle that individuals like yourself and Dr. Wallach, great men often have to go through, right? And it's that when someone opens up their mind, and really you have to experience it. And I think that when I talked to Steve about you, it's funny because Steve said, oh, Dr. Lundell, I know Dr. Lundell. Michelle actually uses his article a lot of times, and we've repurposed your article, you know, the famous one. And he said, I appreciate and I love this guy's story because it really falls in line with what my father had to go through and some of the things that he had to deal with. But he came out on the other side making a greater impact than what he probably would if he had the support of some of the people that were kind of on the fence, if you will, you know, right? And I think that that's where we're so excited, Dr. Lundell, to have you part of the Youngevity mission and doing things with us in an area that you're so passionate about, you know, and cardiovascular health, vascular health, athletic performance. You've had incredible experience and accomplishments with, you know, right? And so it's really, really exciting on that. And I want to just ask you one last question here, is that, so when you're, if you were to say, what are the biggest kind of things that an individual does to hurt their vascular system, okay, right, to damage themselves vascularly, what would you say would they be?
The biggest thing, well, aside from cigarette smoking,
okay,
which, you know, a few years ago, you know, I'd walk a mile for a Camel, and more doctors smoked Lucky Strikes, whatever. I mean, you couldn't say anything about smoking 40 years ago,
right,
because the money was so big. You can't say anything about cholesterol now because the money is so big. It's blasphemy to say that cholesterol isn't the key.
right,
But it isn't the key. The biggest thing, as we mentioned before,
yeah,
many things can injure our endotheliums.
okay,
Toxins and chemicals and this and that. The biggest thing is sugar. Not fat, not saturated fat, sugar. It injures and overloads the mitochondria and those endothelial cells and causes oxidative stress and causes a reduction in nitric oxide production. And so then the blood vessels don't work. They don't dilate, they don't flow, you feel bad, you can't exercise, you can't function, you can't sleep, you can't think. All of those things happen because we have reduced blood flow. So, things we can do is avoid our big high sugar diet, follow a low carb diet, moderate amounts of protein, moderate amounts of saturated fat, animal fats, avoid the vegetable oils of all kinds, enjoy coconut oil. In spite of the fact that the American Heart Association just came out with a presidential advisory re-emphasizing, doubling down on their failed saturated fat theory and attacking coconut oil of all things.
right,
At any rate, they don't seem to learn and won't learn, and so I can't change them, just like I couldn't change the hospital.
right,
The only thing I can do is exercise my right of free speech
yeah,
to come here and tell you that we can change and save more lives by following Coach Jeever's diet and taking cardio beats than I ever could if I practiced for 100 years.
yeah. Well, guys, listen, thank you so much, Dr. Lundell. You're going to hear a lot from Dr. Lundell. He's actually going to be one of the featured speakers at our August convention in Dallas. So we have an awesome breakout session that's going to talk about cardiovascular health, vascular health. It's going to touch on cardio beats, some of the other products that we have right now. My mentor, one of my mentors said at the very end of the day, blood heals everything. Okay, right? And I've always believed that. I've always believed that blood heals everything. You got to get the right quality, good, healthy blood to the areas of inevitable injury, because everything's going to be injured. But you need to make sure that you get that. I think products like Cardio Beats help to allow, like you mentioned, the vascular system to work more efficiently. It allows the vascular system to work more quickly. It allows them to work more effectively. And when you're able to do that, you're able to get greater health because you're able to get a greater quality of blood to those areas that you are going to trauma. So I hope that all of you guys get a chance to try Cardio Beats. The best two places I've used it, I don't know how you've been using the Cardio Beats. I use it in the morning. Right when I wake up, I take my BTT, I choose some things, and I take the Cardio Beats. And then also I use it pre-workout. So right before a run, like this morning, I went for a run, I drank it, and even before the resistance to base workout. Is that how you use it?
Yes, right.
Yes, so those are kind of the two best times, and it's either 1 scoop or 2 scoops a day. My dad drinks 1 scoop, I drink 2 scoops because I do it in the morning and right before a workout. So anyways, guys, thank you so much for joining us. Please watch on Monday for the Facebook Live, and then on Wednesday next week, the Healthy Body Challenge call, 5 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. Dr. Lundell and I will be on that, and then I hope that you've signed up for convention, and hopefully you will sign up for our workshop and learn more about cardio beats and cardiovascular health and stuff. And so remember, one last thing, the promotion is the new, where the 3 CEO Mega Packs are reconfigured to include the cardio beats. You will get that all the way till midnight, the exact same way that you have it right now. After midnight tomorrow, the only thing that changes is the BV goes from $750 to $500. It's still $399, and they're all reconfigured with cardio beats. So thank you very much. Thank you very much, Dr. Lundell, and we will see you guys soon.